إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش
Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome everyone back to the Money Matters series. Today we are discussing, was it mortgage finance and pensions?
Pensions, yeah.
Can we just do a quick recap? The first one we dealt with how not to get scammed.
Yeah, so basically it was about the psychology causes us to fall into that trap.
Yes.
It's a trap. It's a trap. It's to fall into that trap of being scammed. Why? Yeah, I guess it's the psychology of it, and also more importantly, how does one spot the signs where something is not right, where something is doesn't add up, and to lay the foundation that all work or making money requires work. Yeah. Money requires work and effort, and sometimes that work and effort could be in your head, like knowledge.
Yes. So basically, a lack of hard work and knowledge is a recipe for falling for a scam. Basically, if you're asked to hand over an envelope and asked not to do nothing, you should be very skeptical.
I wouldn't say falling for a scam. I would say broaden it a bit by saying, if someone's not willing to learn and educate themselves and make effort, then whatever money they do have will soon depart them. I probably a better way to say it. So it could be, it could be even something as simple as someone is not being very intelligent with his money and goes and spends his money on fancy cars and chaps and stuff. There's a funny story, actually. Not funny, but it's sad. But there's one famous boxer. I think it was, I can't remember his name. It's a famous boxer. I think one who fought Tyson. Anyway, famous boxer. He obviously, when you do those big massive fights, you get millions, isn't it?
Yes.
So what does any man do when he gets millions of pounds? First thing he does is buy a mansion, isn't it?
Yep.
Why not? You got £1 million, you can afford it. The amount mentioned £1 million. I've got £2 million or whatever. But that's it. It's easy maths.
Yes.
And unfortunately, he lost the mansion. But what's interesting was why he lost the mansion. It wasn't because he gambled it away or he had an interest mortgage or anything like that. He actually bought it, right? But ironically, he never anticipated the cost of maintaining the mansion.
Yeah.
The mansion itself bankrupted.
Yes.
Can you imagine that the mansion itself bankrupted him?
Yeah.
So looking after the pool, the maid, the cleaning the house, the food, the electricity, just the heating, brother, the heating just for that house.
He lost it all.
He lost it all because he just couldn't keep up with the payments. So and there's one guy who's Michael Saylor, he mentioned that anything you purchase, any asset you purchase, like a car or a house, whatnot, you should allocate 10% of that yearly, just maintaining it. That's generally what it will cost just to keep the thing. And that's why gold is such a good store of value, because it's low maintenance. Just leave it in the corner. It will continue being what it is, gold.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything other than just leave it in the corner, and that's it. It'll be gold. Whereas if you put gold, if you put your assets into a home, you put your assets into a car, you put assets in.
It's more volatile.
Anything else, there's grades. Not just volatility, but it's just to do with the actual thing itself. It has natural degradation. Gold doesn't degrade. It will just stay as it is. It won't rust. It won't rot. You won't have maggots come in and eat it away one night. It will just be there.
Yeah.
And that's why over time, metals have been a really good store of value. Gold and silver. Obviously, gold being better than silver for whatever reason. But you get the gist. But that's it. So that was the first one. Was basically knowledge
Mhm.
And hard work is the key to making money. The second one was basically laying the foundations of how our current system works at a monetary level and a bank level and a government level, which was a bit of a depressing one, to be honest.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean,
I mean,
when
the fact that
when you open up
the point that there's not enough money on the planet to pay back the debt. I mean, what's that? Anyway, it is a joke.
basically
It is a joke when you think about it.
it is,
Mm,
but we can see how we got here. So at the
yes.
time, the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, money that
That's-
existed was basically in the hands of the owners, and
mm,
people spent what they had.
mm,
And if you were poor, that means you had nothing to spend.
mhm.
Slowly over time, we moved towards an economy whereby it's actually the flip side. Those who don't have the money but can get credit, they're the
Mm.
ones who live well. And those who can't get credit, essentially those can't or don't want to because obviously Muslim, they're the ones who essentially are poor, ironically speaking. And it's actually funny because a friend of mine just texted me the other day, or today actually, and he said, because I mentioned to him something about Bitcoin, he said, what's unfortunate is that most of people in the UK have on average £10,000 debt. So if they wanted to buy Bitcoin, they first got to clear the debt.
Yeah.
And he said that's not even including the mortgage, which we're going to talk about today. But anyway, let's begin, inshallah. Let's begin.
Yeah. So we're starting today on the issue of mortgages, finance, and loans. So I'll leave it up to you to start the topic, inshallah. Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. So we've had two previous lessons or topic into this lesson or this topic, and that is mortgages, finance, and pensions. Mortgage and finance, I would say kind of same category. It was important to me. I would want to mention the word mortgage specifically because whenever you mention the word mortgage, Muslims just want to know. They just want to hear how can I get a house? How can I get a house? Is that buzz? How get? As a matter of fact, I said how many people in the room? So I got 11. So okay, cool. So and the issue of mortgage and finance stems from what we just mentioned just not too long ago, just a second ago, about living outside of one's means, living way beyond one's financial means. Now, the society is built on credit, and it's been that way for a very long time. So if you have a business proposal, you have a house you want to have, you want to study, you want to do that kind of stuff, the idea is not to wait or work and then acquire and then do. The idea is to go to an individual, i.e. the banks, and explain to them your situation. They would fund your idea if they believe that there's a likelihood of them making money off of that and getting their money back. And then you've got your money and they've got their contracts. You get what you want, a business, making profit, and then they get their cut of that one. And that's the vision. And that's the trap. When I say trap, I mean, when you actually break it down, and again, unfortunately, it's going to be slightly depressing today, but when you break it down, there actually isn't there aren't many avenues from riba. Now, I don't just mean those who don't take out mortgages and those who don't take out loans and those who don't have a credit card and those who don't have a savings account. I don't talk about those. I'm just talking about even people who just every day they get paid wages from work and they just spend that on their rent and whatnot. And they got none of that debt stuff. Even that level, we are deeply involved in riba. Well, how is that, Maria? How is that? Now, we've already stated in the previous lesson or previous lecture about how money is made and how money is created. So if I go to the bank and I get a loan, then money is made on the spot with the idea that you pay it back with interest. Same thing with central banks who issue the base money into circulation in the first place through government bonds and so on and so forth. And therefore, the government itself is now in debt to the central banks. And when I say government, i.e. me and you, we're in debt to central banks and all the nights paying back that debt in perpetually. It goes further than that. It goes further because even when we just have our money in the bank and we deposit our money into the bank, again, we have a loan. When we transfer when we get paid from our wages, there's a loan. When we transfer our money to pay our bills, there's a loan. When you go to Tesco, you pay for your shopping, there are loans. And you probably wonder, what the heck are you even talking about, man? What loans? I paid my money, man.
Yeah, it comes out of my bank.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So let's first restructure our language. When you deposit money in the bank account, is that actually the right word we should be using? Because if I gave money to someone and I did a deposit, that's literally getting money, put it into a box or an envelope, seal it up, and I put it somewhere safe. That's the meaning of deposit. Deposit, you put it in something. But that's not actually what's happening when it comes to banks. That's not the agreement on our contract, and we signed our contract. The agreement, if you read the terms and conditions of any bank account, is that you are giving the bank a loan.
Okay.
So the bank gives you a liability. So the bank owes you money. So when you look in your bank balance, when you look in your app, in your phone, and it says your balance is X, Y, Z, that's actually what the bank owes you. So when you go to withdraw in cash, you are essentially collecting on that loan you've given the bank, saying, no, that's not how it is. That's not how banks work. Well, it is. I'm going to explain to you why. If you have a safety deposit box, those things do exist still. Although ironically, to my knowledge, when I did search into it, there are actually only 2 safety deposit boxes in London. The whole of London, only 2 actually exist officially that I know of. It's interesting. Anyway, if you had a safety deposit box and you went and you deposited money into that safety deposit box, which is genuinely what it is, a deposit, then it goes into the box. You seal the box, but can't touch it, and well, you can touch it because it's yours when you go there, but they can't do it because you need 2 keys to open the box. That's what's called a wadi'ah in Islam, a wadi'ah, where you give something to someone and it's up to them to look after it, and it's amana. It's carefully, it's an amana, meaning that if the safety deposit box, if, for example, there was a riot and someone's deposit box, money was burnt up in the flames. Islamically speaking, they don't actually owe you anything, Islamically speaking, because it's a wadi'ah. They've done all that they possibly could to secure your wealth. There's a box, it's metal, there's a fire sprinkler, there's a shutter on the front gate, there's security, there's an alarm, everything is there to keep it safe. But for unforeseen circumstances, rioters came in, broke down the thing, looted the place, fire up everything, and then it's lost. It's no one's fault. I mean, it was criminal activity and money was lost. And that's the basis of a amana. Just like if I lent you my iPhone, I said, look, bro, I'm going Hajj. I don't trust my kids with my phone. Can I give you my phone to look after? I said, yeah, cool, man. So you open up your drawer in your desk, in your office, you put it in the drawer, you lock the drawer, you're gone home at the end of the day. But burglars came into the home, broke off your front door, open up the drawer, thief out the phone. That's not your fault. You did all you possibly can to look after the phone. And then, unforeseen circumstances, someone came and stole it. As long as you can prove that there was no negligence, then that's exactly what happened. It was, it's amana. Only if you were negligent, you left the phone on the front counter of the shop and someone came in and thief it, that's now you're liable. But as for that, if you weren't negligent, you're not liable for that. That's a wadi'ah. But a qard, which is a loan, a loan, that's something completely different.
Okay.
A qard means it's now their ownership. They own the money. And they so they owe, I said the wrong word. They own with the N. They own the money, and they now owe you money. Makes sense. So, for example, if I lend you money, if you lend money to your brother or your sister, you say, "Look, sis, I'm lending you 100 quid because you said you needed that money." He goes, "Cool, thanks. I need money for some shopping." And if she goes out and buys a bit of cigarettes, are you sinful, brother? No, because you know it's not it's not my money anymore. She owes you money, but you're not giving it to her. You know?
Yes.
Same reason. Another example why it's not you. It's their ownership is because when you get the money back, do you check the note to say, wait, it's not the same note I gave you? Look at the serial number; it's different. Because that's not the agreement. The agreement is that you're not going to give you back the exact same notes like a wadi'a would be. You're giving you back the same value, which is what the agreement is, which is what a liability is. That you not owe them a certain value, not an item. You get the difference. There's a value, not an item. So when you give money to the banks, they now owe you money. That's just basically the agreement. They owe you money. So when you make a transfer of money to another account, what's actually happening is that you're just transferring the debt. So rather than the bank owing you money, now the bank owes another guy money, which is called hawala or tahweel in the books of fiqh. It's a different thing. So if I owe you money,
yes,
I owe you £100, but you owe another guy £100. So the other guy says, you know, Ismail, can I have £100 back? Say, look, I ain't got the money for you, but Muawiyah owes me money, so go and get it from him. That's called tahweel. That's transferring the debt, transferring the liability. If they agree to that transfer, then great. And if they don't, say no, I don't like Muawiyah. I don't like agreeing with Muawiyah. Can you give money, please? And then you can nullify the transfer. So now that you've understood what's actually happening with the banks, that makes you realize now that actually every single one of us who has money in the bank has not escaped riba. Even if you have a current account that doesn't give you riba, and even if they give you interest but you get rid of it, everyone's still a part of the matrix. So let's get back to the issue of the mortgage part. That was the main issue, the main topic here.
So are you saying, sorry, just to cut you, that the money I take out, just say for example, I'll put £100 into the bank. That money in reality might be invested here, invested left, right, and center, right? Now, if I go to the bank and I take out 50, that £50 that I'm taking out could be from, it's obviously the bank makes profit. So whatever they make their profit on it based on riba, right? So whatever, if I take out my 50 quid, is that 50 quid that from the £100 I gave them? Probably not. It's probably from a riba transaction. It's probably from
that doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. So that's not the issue. I'm stating. I'm not saying that affect. I'm not. You know what it is? It's like someone comes to you, like those guys who come to you and want to sell you these iPhones like 10 quid and brand new iPhone. Now bruv, you know it's stolen, brother. We both know it's stolen. No one's selling you a brand new iPhone for 10 quid. We know why it's stolen.
Yes.
So Islamically speaking, you're not allowed to take that because you're not allowed to take something that doesn't belong to someone or is illegitimate. So you know that it's gotten by ill-gotten means, however the means it is, purely from the fact of random guy box on the street. It's a scam. That was the whole point of this whole series, a scam. But if someone came to you selling a phone, and for all intents and purposes, it's a legitimate phone. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Then you're not liable for that, or anything to do with that, because you know there's no signs to indicate that. But when it comes to money, on the other hand, which is what we're talking about here, money. There's a fiqh principle that tabaddul al-a'yan ka tabaddul al-asbab. The changing of tabaddul al-asbab ka tabaddul al-a'yan, I said it the other way around. So the changing of the circumstances is like the changing of the actual thing. So imagine someone sold khamr and he was given a dinar, a gold coin.
Yes.
And they come to you to do some shopping and gave you the same gold coin, because the transaction, the two transactions are completely separate. One was to buy khamr and the other was to buy shopping.
Yes.
It's as if the coin is now two different things.
Gotcha.
So tabaddul al-asbab, the different circumstances. Katabadul a'yan is like the changing of can you hear me?
Yes.
So sorry, someone called me. Is that the changing of the actual thing? That's not the premise I'm talking about. It's more to do with the issue of ta'awun and ithmi wa udwan, where essentially facilitating and allowing someone to do wrong with it. So it's a bit like saying, let me give you an example of the scenario, because I think we have to word it in the right way. Some guy comes to you, knocks on your door, a friend of yours from back in the day, like when you were like from college or whatnot, says, "Oh, bro, long time no see, it's my last things, man, bro. Bro, can you do me a favor? What's that? Can I borrow a G off you? Why is that, brother? Are you in trouble? No. I just need to do a deal. Like, I got some guy selling some crack here, really cheap. I want to buy it quickly, do a quick flip, and then I'll give you back your money, and I win, you win, innit? Now he's just asked you for a loan, and he's told you what he's going to do with it. Now you could say, tabadul asbab, tabadul a'yan, nothing to do with me. But I just let him the money. He owes the money. I can do that one. But you still know what he's going to do with it. So rather than, that's what I'm saying, for Muslims, rather than try and rationalize what essentially we want to ease life. We want to do is use the bank without any problems. But rather than try and rationalize it, let's just reword it. The bank's going to use your money to buy crack cocaine and sell it to the youth then. That's what they're going to do with your money, as an example. Now, you might say, I am not liable for that. I didn't know
what's going on.
But you know what's going on. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at the end.
Okay. I get you.
Back to the issue of the mortgage. So everything that we know of is touched by riba. That's the whole point. We know that I want to start off with. So when it comes now to the 1971, in 1971. That was the time when Richard Nixon detached gold, the dollar from the gold standard, and essentially went all in on the whole riba system. I'm not saying went all in. What I mean by that is it already existed. This whole idea of basing your economy on loans and stuff that already existed. That's not trying to bring this thing that that's when it started. No, that's not. It started from way back in the days when the church first allowed interest in the first place, which is what they did. They did that by because initially interest was haram, even in their society. It was actually so condemned in early Christendom that a person who dealt with usury, not only was he a sinner, but he was also excommunicated from the deen.
Wow.
As in it was takfir even. And it was promised hellfire. So it was actually more severe than it was with Muslims.
Wow.
But they made this distinction historically between usury and interest. That was the linguistic distinction they made. And that's why you might have had the word usury. Basically, usury, the specific term usury became known as excessive money lending. 10%, 20%, 30%, 100% interest. That became known as usury. But 1%, 1.5%, that was interest, not so bad. And that was the beginnings of the end for them. Because obviously that once that foot in the door was open, then the floodgates just come in it. Everyone just start rushing in. Which same thing we have now with regards to the whole.
Was that a church decision? Was that a church decision? Who's in regards to the allowing interest to be 1% at a low rate?
I'm not sure exactly who, because remember in the early days, the church and state were kind of one in it. And also there's a whole issue of the King Henry VIII and that kind of stuff. And one of the issues that he wanted was to have more wives, or something to divorce his wife. There was many things going on politically. I don't know the details, so I'm not going to claim like I know.
Okay.
But the point is illegally from both avenues, because when the church and state was very strong, Catholics kind of ran things at one point. Completely wrong. Catholicism is still wrong, I think. I spoke to a Catholic the other day, and we kind of agreed on something like that. So I think it still is wrong in Catholic Church, but obviously England became Church of England, and whatever happened, and then secularism happened, and in France the Church said all the history. Back to the point.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that it's 1971 it began, But what happens in 1971, because the whole monetary supply was based on the issuance of bonds and debts and that kind of stuff, you can see, there were certain steps and certain things that happened that really opened the floodgates to money lending. And specifically in the UK, Margaret Thatcher in the 80s really pushed to that whole thing. And for people, basically the idea of people living beyond their means.
Yeah.
People and facilitating credit. That's the word. They use these fancy words to make it sound better, but the facilitating credit became more of a thing, or institutionalizing riba became more of a thing. And we start seeing so many things happening all at once from 1971. We got a series of videos coming out probably during Ramadan or maybe after it, discussing this in detail. But from these things that started to happen was a decoupling, separation between work rendered and remuneration of that work. So I'm doing work, I might even be producing more work, more productivity, but there's a decoupling of how much I'm getting paid for that work. And there's actually a stagnation from 1971 to this day, in terms of what you're being paid, has kind of remained the same, although we're producing more and more as time goes on. And also, more importantly, because this is probably the most important question to understand mentally, is house prices and the prices of other goods, certain goods, began to rise, whereas wages did not. Now, it's not just an issue of inflation, because inflation, I'm not sure I mentioned it last week, but inflation isn't even across the board. When we say inflation, okay, someone just asked about the decoupling. You understand in a minute what I'm talking about decoupling. What I'm saying is that initially, as people started to produce more, the wages began to grow. As the economy grows, you start to earn more. What I mean by decoupling, as in, although the economy is growing, we're not earning any more. So every year it's getting more and more difficult to pay the bills, although you're still doing the same job. As in, generally speaking, you should, if you're doing the same work you did 10 years ago, you should be able to live the same way.
Yes.
But it's getting more and more difficult to do so. And let me say, inflation is not so straightforward, in the sense that inflation doesn't just mean that if it goes up by 2%, everything is about 2%. No, it's actually granular. It depends on what's getting bought. So, for example, if you compare the inflation rate on the price of eggs and milk and bread, it might not be that much, because if I'm super rich, I don't tend to buy more bread.
Gotcha.
I mean, I can only consume so much bread, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if I am super rich, what kind of things does a rich man tend to buy more of? If he has millions and billions, what does he tend to buy more of?
Luxury goods, property.
Luxury goods, property, excellent. So if people start growing in wealth, or more importantly, if people start to have access to more capital through credit, what do they usually use credit for? If I go to the bank and ask the bank, can you print off me some couple £1,000s? I don't ask them to do that to buy bread. I ask them to do that to buy properties, to buy a car, to buy, like I said, luxury goods. Credit cards, for example. Credit cards, you use a credit card to buy, go Selfridges, go on a binge, buy all these designer clothes. Credit card. So basically, some things go up a lot more inflation-wise than other things. So let me give you a fun fact. Did you know? And I'm sure if you speak to your grandparents, people in that age, they'll tell you. Did you know that if you was to buy a house back in the 60s and 50s, all you actually needed was about 3 years of wages?
Yes. Yeah.
Think about it. Just let that sink in just for 1 minute. If I lived with my parents and I worked the average wage and I saved up for 3 years, I could buy my whole house outright. Just 3 years.
Yeah.
So I've gone to school, gone to college, got a degree, finished my degree now, got a job, 3 years. Now I'm 25, 24 maybe even. I could buy a house. Done. No riba involved. No riba involved. Nothing. Just bought. Khalas, finish. Fast forward 50 years. I
Finish, brother.
left college. I'm already now 24K under with interest accruing. And I've got a job, average job, maybe getting 30,000 a year. And house prices in East London, for example, are going for like more than 500,000. So if I was to just stay at my parents' house to save up, that would take me at least an excess, well, definitely more than 10 years, maybe even 15 years of just saving, not even spending. So we've gone from 3 years times 5 at least. So what went wrong? How did that happen? Mortgages, debt. Because when you allow capital to be available, although you'll have no means, what you essentially do is you reduce the supply in the market. When you reduce the supply, but the demand stays the same, then the price has to reflect that. Less houses are available. They're always saying there's a house shortage in the UK. But do you know how many houses are actually empty in the UK? So there's a shortage, but houses are empty. I know specifically of someone who's managing property for an Arab or Arabs, I'm not sure if it's plural, but someone who doesn't live in the UK, who has property that's empty, like 90% of the year. They might come in for a couple of weeks throughout the year for holiday, but beyond that, it's empty.
Okay.
So houses to go around people, but it's just that because housing is actually an investment opportunity.
Yes. I get you.
You buy a house to go up in value, as I'm sure maybe some of you guys listening here might even know this. Some people actually have a house on mortgage, but they get another house on mortgage, so they can rent it out. So that basically means,
you know, Mario, you're
enough, haven't even got the means to buy one house.
You know, your internet is it's cutting up quite a lot. But anyway, go carry on. Yeah, we've missed. Yeah, you're with us now, but it cuts in and cuts out now and then. But we're with you. I'm with you.
So even the people, person who know one house, 3 or 4, some people have up to 5 houses, all a mortgage, but they're just renting it out. So how do they do that? Credit. They show the bank that they can keep up with the payments, and they essentially remove these houses from the market, removed the the supply from the market, which again pushes up the price.
Gotcha.
So fast forward now to what Muslims want to know is, is there an Islamic mortgage? That's what they want to ask. Can I get an Islamic mortgage? Based on what I've just said here, you can understand that hasn't solved the problem. The problem still is house prices are inflated because of this whole process. The process of removing houses off the market based on money you don't have to spend. I mean, the thing is, the dynamics of money and money supply and spending is so important, but people never think about it. Let me give you an example here. I just saw a video just now of some Jewish guy cussing off the king of Brunei, saying that he's like the 30th most richest person in the world. And he said, if only he gave half of his wealth, half, to all the people in Brunei, just as like sadaqah, they will get $23,000 each. Which sounds good, isn't it? I mean, give your money to the people, and great, they get free cash. Now, I'm not paid by the king of Brunei. Me and him are not best friends or brethren. So hopefully no one doesn't. I've laid out next. But do you know, if he did that, that would devastate Brunei's economy, because now they have all this cash and then they're gonna spend it. that would inflate their currency ridiculously. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Too much cash in the system now. It's still cutting up. Go on.
Shall I log out and log back in to try and see if I'm sort the internet out? Should I do that?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I think if you can log out and come back in, because it is cutting out quite a bit. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, let me try that. Come back and try again.
So hold on a second, guys. He's just going to log out and log back in. Yeah, hopefully in about 3 or 4 days the video will be put on YouTube. So yeah, you'll be able to get the recording later, no problem. Assalamualaikum. Abu Sulaiman, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Abu Sulaiman. Do you have your lecture today? Is it after this one?
Yeah, inshallah, 6:30, inshallah.
Okay. What's the topic?
It's going to be how to have a practical Ramadan this year, a real practical one.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Not just a theory about how to put into practice from morning for 1 day, but like a continuous for 30 days, inshallah.
Excellent.
Do you know
the Zoom number? So you can put the Zoom number on the chat. So if anyone wants to listen to that, they can.
Inshallah. Hold on a moment. Let me have a look.
Okay, I think Maria is back.
So can you hear me?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Yep, can hear you. We
Shall
can't see you
I
though.
just do audio only, considering that the audio is more important than the thing?
I prefer video as well. Try it. If it cuts out, then
Cool.
yeah, we'll see what happens.
Should I record the audio on my end so you get a better sound or crisper sound? Should I do that?
Yeah, if you like, if you can do it without no issue.
Okay, give me a second. It's in the other room.
No worries, leave it then. The recording is okay. The recording is
Okay,
fine.
cool.
Fine.
So, so I'm saying that money supplies or the amount of spending powers available to the people is very important. If people start to have more money than they are working for, then that will cause prices of things they're spending on to go up. It's just an issue of supply and demand. That's why the idea of, this is very important, this principle for everyone should know this, the idea of just handing out money to people for free to go do something en masse isn't necessarily a good thing. You're not doing anyone a favor by giving someone money en masse. So not putting down sadaqah, because obviously we have zakah, we have this like that, but you got to find massive amounts just given randomly. Is it sound still good?
Yes, fine. So you're saying basically having excess money in the economy, too much cash. You're saying because you're saying that would devalue the item. Well, it devalue the currency basically.
Yes and no. So
devaluing
the currency is more akin to its purchasing power overall. Whereas what I'm talking about specifically is the inflation of the price of some things and not others. So I'm saying that when we look at the price of eggs and the price of bread and that kind of stuff, we might see that the price is going up, but not by much. For example, we know from our days in the 90s and the 80s how much a packet of crisps used to be. I remember back in the day, you could get a packet of crisp for 5 pence, and 10 pence crisp. Now 20 pence. And you might think that's not much. I mean, that's not that much. But inflation of houses and other luxury goods is even more than crisps, because when you have massive amounts of money, people don't go out and buy crisps. They go out and buy houses.
Gotcha.
So fundamentally, at the base level, buying a house on mortgage makes prices more expensive.
Go up, gotcha.
And as they get more expensive, we are forced to buy a house on mortgage. You see the cycle? It's an endless cycle whereby we caused it to go higher, and now it's higher. We have to go back on
get a mortgage.
Get a mortgage. So that's why I'm saying that issue of the matrix. It's a convoluted system of moving parts that seem to move all things in the same direction, and that's the direction where money goes down and things go up in price wise. So someone mentioned, I saw on a message on the side saying about Islamic mortgages. So yeah, let's have a quick 5 minutes on that one. Islamic mortgages are, from my own perspective and opinion, is no different than a high street mortgage. Now I'm going to explain to you why. So high street mortgages, they basically give you money, and they say they want the money back, and they use the house as what's called a rahan. A rahan is like a guarantee, a thing to give to secure the loan. It's a security to secure the loan. Yeah, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, Islamic mortgages say no, we're not going to give you a loan. What we'll do musharaka, we do business partnership, where we put money up and you put money up, and we both own shares in the property. You have our portion, we have a portion, because it's a business partnership. We're friends, we're both partnerships. And if you're living in the property, obviously your share of the rent from your share will be obviously be free, but then the other share will be for us, so we get rent. And if you want to buy more equity, buy more shares of the property, just give us money and you buy more shares of the property, and then eventually you end in owning the property, and that's it. And it sounds convoluted, it sounds confusing, but I mean, for the layman, it might sound confusing, but fundamentally what they're saying to you is that you can get the house you want. Let's get cut to the chase. You want a house, you can't afford it, we're here to come help you get the house you want. That's basically the fundamental premise.
So just to clarify something, so say the rent is £1,000, right? I bought, for example, 30% of the property, and the Islamic Bank bought 70, right? So obviously that's going to leave what, £700. So the rent is £1,000. If I want to buy more equity, I've got to now put in, I'll do it by stage. I'll put in another £300, another £300, another £100 until I buy the whole £700, and now the flat is mine. So that is not an issue. No,
that is the issue. So let me explain. So you hold 30%, they own 70%. So they say anyway.
Yeah.
And the rent, let's say the rent is £1,000. So therefore, £700 of that is rent.
Yes.
And it might say something like £300 of it would be paying off to buy the other part of the house, like that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yes.
So they split up your payments into two parts. One part of it is the rent, and the other part is to buy your share of the house. But let's scratch the surface and see how true this claim is. And I've had these discussions with people who wanted to buy a property, and I said, look, whoever you're speaking to, ask them these questions. Okay, So you both bought shares in the property. They own 70%. You own 30%.
Mhm.
A month after purchasing the property and living in it, house prices crash by 70%. House prices crash by 70%. So imagine the house is worth $1 million. Now the house is only worth 300,000. So that's it. 700,000 gone into dust. Does that mean that when you paying off the house to buy the other part of the house, you're only paying back the part for the 30,000?
Because you both lost, you're saying?
Yes, that's the question. Have you really both lost? Or do they still want you to pay the original
Price.
amount that you agreed upon? That was the question I told him to ask the guy who was telling him, because he was saying that they're Sharia compliant, this scholar, that scholar stamped it and blah, 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 give him website and everything was blah, blah.
Okay.
Also all the halal stickers on the website, all there. So I said, because he was saying, if the house goes up in price, then you get to keep the profits. So I said, okay, so if your goes down, what happens to the losses?
Yes.
And his answer was, well, you have to deal with the loss as well. Meaning, he wants his money back, whether the house goes up or goes down. That is not musharaka. That is not a partnership.
Got you.
Partnership means if it goes up, you both win. If it goes down, you both lose.
Yes, 100%.
So that's the first mistake. Mistake number 2. Okay, you're living in the property. So let's say the market rate for that property is £1,000 a month, and you're living in a property. So you're paying, let's say £700, which is the rent, and you're not paying anything extra because you don't want to buy extra equity. You just want to pay off the rent. Okay. Yes. Something happened. Let's just say you got accepted to study in the Islamic University of Medina. MashaAllah. Allah has accepted you to go out and seek knowledge fi sabilillah. So you moved out. Now the bank will tell you, where's my rent? And you would say, I moved out. So they will say, yeah, but we've had an agreement, you got to pay rent. So, yeah, but I moved out, I'm not there anymore. You know, so why am I paying rent when I don't even live in the property anymore? Then they will say, yeah, but you've agreed to pay rent. And you would say, but you told me we were partners. So if the place is rented out, we share the profits. And if it's empty, we share the losses or the lost potential because it's empty, nothing's been done. That's how it normally be. If me and you, Ismail, put money together and bought a property and it's empty, sitting there doing nothing, are we making money? We're not making money.
But for example, if you said to me, okay, we get into agreement, I'm paying the rent and I go, either I've got to cover that rent before I leave, or I've got to put someone in the house so that you still get your £700 or whatever it is of the rent. If you get what I'm saying, if we're in agreement,
that's what they'll say. That's what they'll say. But
yeah,
okay, if I don't find someone in there, that's the question. Obviously, no one wants to have an empty house. If you own a house, no one wants it empty, obviously. But if it is, the issue is, the issue is not what will happen. The issue is, what is the agreement you've agreed to?
Okay, class.
Have you agreed to pay the rent regardless of the situation, whether you're in it or not? How's that a partnership? That's not a partnership. Issue number three, why are the deeds to the property not in your name?
They're saying what? Until you pay the last penny, you don't own the house. Okay.
No. They say you have your share. They'll tell you on your documentation that you have this much share and that much share and blah, 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 blah. But on the land registry, why is your name not there? Let me tell you why. Because if you can't pay and you default, they need a way to execute and sell the house without you getting involved.
Okay.
How can it liquidate the property if you don't agree? Makes sense? Got you. So as you can see, these are just 3 issues, not all of it. That's just 3 issues which reveals the reality that Islamic mortgages are not, they're not what they say they are. They say it's a partnership, but there's no partnership to be seen. They say they share things or whatever, but they don't share anything. All the liabilities on you, which is basically the same as a loan. When I give you a loan, we said at the beginning of this discussion that when I give you a loan, I now have a liability. Also, when I give you money, I now have a liability to pay back, and that's 100%. Same thing here. They have a liability to pay back, regardless. That's just how it is. Or let's look at another example. Imagine this is now. You can say it's number 4 if you want to, but I'm not sure how likely it will happen. But let me just say an example. Imagine you got the property, and as they stipulate, you have to have building insurance. That's what they say. Anyway, the house burned down, and insurance didn't pay out for whatever reason. Have you both lost? Or are they going to say, no, you need to ask for money because you did something dodgy in the insurance or whatnot, or insurance run out? They've put all these liabilities and responsibilities on you, and you have no say in anything. In any business partnership, there's a partnership. You both stipulate terms and conditions. And that's actually one guy actually made a very good point. He mentioned that he said that the banking system is essentially a lending system whereby the lender has less rights than the one who's taking the loan. Let me explain what I mean by that. If I said to you, Ismail, can I borrow from you £1,000? You say, yeah, you can, but X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rules. You stipulate terms of the agreement because you're the one issuing the capital.
Yes.
So why is it when I deposit money in the bank account, as in I am now the lender, they stipulate the rules to me?
Yeah. Got you.
It's they to me, when I make a transfer, they charge me. You know, the joke is if I deposit cash, I have a business account. If I deposit cash in a business account, do you know they actually charge me to deposit money? Have you ever heard of that? You have to pay someone to give them a loan. Anyway, so that's a brief issue. So from my perspective, I know people don't want to hear this, but Islamic mortgages, from I see, are not different from high street mortgages. And even before that, we have to also understand that the premise of getting a house without the means to buy it is only making the problem worse for everybody else. Now, I'm not going to say that you making some decision to not buy a house is going to help the ummah. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we've already identified that credit is the source of a great deal of pain for people.
Yes.
Internationally or nationally at least, and we're going to basically to allow and facilitate credit. We're basically saying, help make the problem worse. So that was that one.
I mean, just to cut in, like it seems like it's not possible to operate outside the monetary system. Once you're in the monetary system, because that mortgage company, is it dependent upon a bigger bank to give them the cash? Like, how is it different? How are they going to be an independent Islamic bank with X amount of trillions in the bank to say, all right, fine, let's go and buy this house cash for $500,000 and I'm going to give you, 400,000 loan, etc., etc. Are the so-called Islamic banks independent, or are they piggybacking off another HSBC or Barclays or XYZ?
See, the details of that is not entirely clear to me at the moment, how they fund all these activities. But the problem is that they have a legal license to be a bank. And what that means is that they have legal permission by the government to print new money. So what that means is, it doesn't necessarily, what it means is that they don't necessarily have to have actual capital to buy the house you say you want. They can actually issue you credit based on a fundamental, basically same as fractional reserve. You got a small portion, but they can issue a more larger portion to actually essentially create more money out of thin air. Same process. Yes.
So that so-called Islamic bank could then go to a bigger bank, a central bank, and say, right, give me X amount of money if they don't have the funds themselves. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's actually what I saw a tweet the other day. Someone was criticizing them because they were saying we've made a massive milestone that the Bank of England has agreed to put aside a pot of money that doesn't involve X, Y, and Z of Khamar, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, Islamic money, yeah.
Basically, so what they're saying is that
Yeah.
in order for it to be Islamic, is that they're not investing money into haram activities.
Mm.
But it doesn't make it clear the whole idea of issuing credit from nothing, how that works in the first place. But put it aside. The fact is, the Islamic banks are still dealing with the central banks. They're still being financed from the central banks, and more importantly, they're still depositing your money with them. Let's not forget that central banks also receive deposits from other banks. So if a bank doesn't want to hold a deposit, whatever reason, they can deposit it in the central bank for whatever reason that may be. So anyway, so that was that part about that one about mortgages.
Islamic finance,
and to be honest, the whole term Islamic banking is like saying Islamic theft. The word banking essentially means riba, money lending, making money through lending money. That's at the core of the whole agreement. They are lending you money on the promise of getting more money back. That's what it is. It is not an investment like how a normal investment would be, whereby you both partners. They are lending you money and passing over all liability over to you. That's essentially what it is. So that's what it is. Gotcha. And the other final point, but just a very quick one, I know we run out of time, is the issue of, we mentioned in the title about pensions. Pensions is a ticking time bomb. And essentially, it's one of the most clearest examples of a Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme that you've ever seen, if you just look at it. Okay, so pension, how does it work? You put money in, they take that money, and they promise you're going to pay you back X, Y, and Z when you get older. But again, under what premise are they taking that money? What are they doing with that money? And how are they going to pay you back the money later on? If it was a wadi'a, that would mean that you put in every day £10, every day, every week, £10. When you get older, that money that built up in that box, you get it back whole. But that's not how it works. Pension companies take your money and they use that money they have now to pay off current people who are alive. So those who are alive, who are pensioners now, their pension comes from your current deposits. That's literally what we described in our first session about Ponzi schemes. Is that essentially the people you're paying today comes from the money of someone coming tomorrow. So as long as you can guarantee more money coming in on a year-to-year basis, then you keep the wheels turning. But if they can't pay the people today, that means, or more importantly, actually, the way they word it is that if the population, this is the key word, if the population of the working age isn't large enough to carry the pensioner's age, basically the pyramid is now going this way. They need to look this way. They need people funneling money in.
Yes.
To those people who are there.
This is why they don't want old people to live longer.
Brother, COVID came in for a reason.
No, they always mention this thing. Oh, people are living longer, and they're not even happy about it. Oh, people are living longer. It's a terrible thing. How are we going to afford to keep the old people? It's like, be happy people are living longer, but obviously because of the financial so-called burden, they don't seem to be so happy that people are living longer.
See, what you just said there actually is what is the summary of the whole dars. How can we afford to keep paying these people if they're living longer? So you can see here the trick was already revealed. Yes. Your payments today are going to them. It's not your money. So when you get older and you rip the jar, that's not your money coming back to you. That's someone else's money who's alive, young now, paying for you.
Yes.
So the whole system only depends on more and more people coming into the pyramid.
Yes, 100%.
Which is collapsing underneath them because of many reasons. Number one, people are growing older, and number two, more importantly, which is the ironic. I find the irony of Qadr sometimes beautiful. The irony is they were waving the flag, even to this day, that the developing countries are poor because they have too many kids. They need to reduce the population. There's too many youth them. Now there's not enough youths to pay the old people. Now they're complaining.
Yeah.
How are you going to pay them?
Yeah.
And they ain't got enough youth.
And they are caught in between the hub in that they need immigration to work, to pay taxes. And on the other side, they're saying there's too much immigration. So what is it? What are they going to do?
So the point is, pension schemes are pyramid schemes, and they are not something that Muslims should be involved in. Now, what does that mean, Muawiyah? What does that mean? I believe that we should follow Islamic principles and look to the past. How do people deal with getting old in the past? Because it's not a new phenomenon. It's not something that happened just the other day.
Yeah.
How do they deal with getting old in the past? The first thing to do would be to invest in your awlad, children. If that is the ultimate pyramid,
Yes.
you're there and you got the kids at the bottom.
Yeah.
If you don't have a large enough base at the bottom to carry you when you get older, then that is literally
Yeah.
your problem.
Have plenty
If
of
you got
kids.
one or two children, plenty of children, that is one of them. As the hadith says, تزوج الولود الودود فإني مكاثر بكم الأمم. Marry and further, because I want to compete on the day of judgment to have a larger ummah. So institutionalize and internalize the Islamic pyramid, where you and your wife, or you and your husband at the top, you've got 5-10 children underneath that, and underneath them they got a good 15, 20 odd from that
grandchildren,
one. Grandchildren. Are you telling me that out of all them nuffs, they can't help you when you get older?
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas the alternative, you got 1 kid, 2 kid, maybe. Maybe one of them don't even have kids anymore because another one had a kid, but now the wife took the kids and you don't see the kids anymore. So now you one old, your other one old now, and then the grandkids don't exist with you anymore. There's a problem. Yeah. So the first thing will be investing in your children. Secondly, invest in yourself. Can you hear me properly, by the way? Because you've frozen.
Yeah, the camera's gone a bit funny. I'll sort it out. But I can hear you fine. Go ahead.
That's fine. So also invest in yourself. So I would say, rather than dumping your money in pensions, put your money into something, an investment that will help you when you get older. Whether it be gold or silver or whatever you want to invest in. My personal choice, but
yes, and we're going to come to that subject. Can I just open up? Does anyone have any questions for Muawiyah? You can, if you raise your hand, I can then come to you, or you can put something down in the chat. I think I'm back now. 1 second. Is that me? Yeah. No questions. Everyone's quiet. Okay, I think we should wrap it up.
Someone mentioned about Mansa Musa causing inflation on his way to Hajj. Can someone explain it to me? Because that sounds interesting. Can he come to the mic or something and explain that? Because I never heard that before. It does sound interesting. It does sound realistic as well.
No, I think he when he got to Mecca, someone scolded him. He spent it, and I think he made the price of gold in Mecca drop so low because when he came to Mecca, he was just spending gold, and it just dropped the price.
Everyone's got gold.
Increase.
No. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's actually interesting today need to use bank. How do we operate without the banks in the UK? So that's a good point. Yeah. So someone asked me on my YouTube, so how do we function then without a bank? So that's interesting because it used to be the case that you couldn't function without a bank unless you took everything in cash and had to walk everywhere and pay in cash. But that isn't the case anymore. There are many opportunities and avenues to make payments that doesn't include a bank or doesn't involve a bank, or at least it doesn't include a bank on your end. That's the thing. So yeah, you might be able to function without a bank, but that doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have a bank. It makes sense. So you might want to go to shopping like Tesco's and spend. Obviously, when Tesco's get the money, it's going to be in their bank account. So you can't be responsible and liable for what they do and what they receive. But as for you and how you have your money, how you store your money, you can do that and spend it by having a bank. So for example, I haven't got it on me. You can use various different debit cards that you can use crypto and pay with crypto. So for example, you can actually have Bitcoin on that card And when you pay, you literally just pay with Bitcoin. Now, on the other end, they would receive whatever they would get in pounds and euros, whatever their local currency is. But from your end, you're not in the bank. And you're not part of the system of being in the bank. So, yes, it used to be the case that you couldn't exist or function without a bank. But it's not the case anymore, which kind of makes the excuse why we need to have a bank a bit dead. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, close down your bank account, because it might be a case where you absolutely need to have a bank account. So, for example, someone who wants to get payment, but they haven't got a card reader to accept Visa or MasterCard, they just need a direct bank transfer of sort code and account number. Then, yeah, then you have to do that, at the end of the day. So you can deposit some money into the bank account and then transfer it to them. But as for day-to-day use, then you don't actually need a bank account anymore. But go on.
Question. Obviously, issue of our wages being paid into a bank.
Yes.
And not linking the issue to mortgages. Oh, we have to live somewhere. We don't want to pay rent. Rent is more expensive. We could then have to keep moving every few years. How do we understand Darura? How do we understand the issue of necessity? We have to have a bank. We have to have buy a house for the stability of our children, etc., etc.
Yeah. So, very good point. So, a lot of what we say we have to do, we don't have to do. So, for example, renting. I don't want to rent. Rent is expensive. Which, ironically, by the way, one of the reasons why rent is expensive is because the banks incentivize you to get a mortgage by having lower payments. So the irony is that again, the high rents and low mortgages are incentivized. It's actually go hand in hand. But anyway, so what was the question again? So the
issue about necessity and buying a house.
So a lot of things that you want to do, you don't necessarily have to do. So could I live an Islamic life, worshiping Allah, being a good person, earning money as well, even without having a mortgage? Yes, you could. Would my life be technically better if I had a mortgage? Kinda, yeah. But the question is, at what cost? Don't just think of how life would be easier. The issue is, what's the cost? What's the fee for that ease? That's what I always ask. What is the fee for that ease? That's the first thing. Second thing, if this is a very important point, because whoever mentions these issues or asks these questions, I have to really look at the situation properly. All mortgages need a deposit. Some say 5%, some say 10%, some say 15%. For Islamic mortgages, even you need 25%. Something madness like that.
Wow.
So I ask the counter question. If you actually have that much in deposit available in cash, you tell me you can't do business with that and make the money to buy a house with that yourself? I mean, you got 25,000, 35,000, 40,000 pounds in cash. There's nothing you can do with that money to increase it, to double it up over how long period of time. Because remember, we're not talking about those who have no money, because they don't have even an option of mortgage. That's not an issue. We're talking about those who have the actual deposit. They have some capital as a deposit. So you're telling me with that deposit, there's nothing you can do with that money to make enough money to get a house? Number one. And number two, are you telling me that you have to have a house in London, the most expensive place in the UK, in the world even? There's nowhere else in the world you can go with that 30,000 or 40,000 pounds. You can buy a house and live probably good. The reality is, a lot of what we want is exactly that. What we want. It's not to do what we need.
Got you.
Is what you want. And I tell you, if someone tells me they're in need, but yet they have the deposit for a mortgage, I'll ask, how the heck are you in darura? Are you in need when you have the money for deposit? Bro, if you have enough money to leave this country, I mean, you can leave, you can make hijrah with 50,000 pounds or 40,000 pounds. That's hijrah money. That's gone. Go somewhere. I mean, someone's telling me the other day that rent in Turkey is about 200 pounds, 300 pounds a month. 200 pounds a month. Okay, how much is that then? Let me look at that. So 40,000 pounds divided by 200 pounds divided by 12. That's 16 years you can live on that money in Turkey and doing nothing else other than paying rent, nothing else. You tell me you can't get a job over there and live good. So again, the issue of need, no doubt, some may say you're in dire need, and there might be certain circumstances. For example, give an example of need. Maybe you're a carer. You're caring for a relative who's has a disability. The option of leaving is not even an option for you, and they have certain needs, whatnot, which has been paid for. And you can't be funded, whatnot. There are certain circumstances whereby literally there is no other option. There is literally no other option. But I find it difficult to say that that is something that is common for most people. I think it's the case where most people want a mortgage, want something what they want, but not necessarily need it. And I'm sure if you just look at properties outside of London, I'm sure you can even find a property.
Yeah, you can outside London, you can buy something for £100,000, but you're looking at Bradford, Leeds, them kind of areas there. You can buy properties for 100,000.
Yes, if their concern is living somewhere and not paying rent, then that there you go, do that then. Well, there's one guy actually, not Muslim, it's Christian, but he was mentioned the fallacy of buying property in London as a business. He said not me. He said I have a property in somewhere up, I think Newcastle, somewhere up there. It costs him £80,000 to buy the house. He rents out on Airbnb and makes about so he rents on not Airbnb. This one's just normal. He makes about £600 a month on rent from that small £80,000 house. Now in London, you can get a house for £800,000, which is times 10, and the rent is not times 10.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So you can make your return on a monthly basis a lot more outside of London than it is inside London. I mean, here's a scenario: if you got enough money for a deposit, why don't you buy a house somewhere up there, rent it out, use that rent to pay for rent down here if you really need to live in London, or use that rent to subsidize the rent down here. That £600 coming in from up north, how much that reduce your rent in London for? By probably a good amount. So you're essentially now paying, let's say £300 a month rent. £600 comes from your other rent, and you own a property, and it's probably gaining in value. So there's so many other options available to you. To say that mortgage is the only way, no, it's the only way you know of, but it doesn't mean it's the only way. The unfortunate problem is, and this is, we're all unfortunately accountable for this. We're just too lazy to find other ways. That's just really what it is. We're just too lazy to think, are there any other ways to make money?
Or to sacrifice, to make it like, to get where we've got to sacrifice.
A lot of people just say, oh, it's long getting a house up there. That's the key word. Oh, it's long.
Yeah.
So that's it then. All you're asking for something short. So again, it might be a depressing discussion because again, people want to hear someone say, yeah, this mortgage is halal. Go to them, sign the paperwork, and you get any house you want in London. They want to make life easy if you make life easy. But the thing is, the reality is, we all, me included, you included, we all made a decision and choice to be here in this country. That's a choice we make. We don't have to be here. We can go Egypt, we can go Yemen, we can go Mauritania, go so many other places. We can go anywhere we need to go. But we made a choice to be here. So if that's the case, carry the weight that comes with that. Yeah, you can't do all the things you want to do.
Yeah.
That's part of parcel of being here. And understand that the whole system is rigged and is formed to work a certain way. And that way is not in line with Islam. So
I think we are, as Muslims, in a tight spot. And in order to get out of that spot, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take working together. I just imagine for something like Bradford or Dudley, there's some towns where it's like maybe 80-90% Muslim, and they probably bought all their houses. All it would take you to go up with a few families. First 5 years you buy one house, next 5 years you buy your own house, next 5 years you get what I'm saying. There are schemes that you can do together, but then again it takes sacrifice and it takes,
But one thing to, like I said, going back to what we said in the previous two sessions, at the fundamental core of all this discussion about mortgage and about property and that kind of stuff, before even thinking about that, is how you earning your income in the first place. If your income is like from paycheck to paycheck, then all this discussion about mortgage and that kind of, it means nothing.
Yes. Yes.
It's not even an option for you. We need to first fundamentally look at, okay, how can I make sure that more money is coming in than going out on a monthly basis? That is the first question you have to ask. How can I make sure that more money is coming in than going out on a monthly basis? Mortgage is not an answer for you, because if you have, like I said to you, if you have that much money for the deposit, then clearly you've got more money coming in than going out. So the discussion is first that one. Once you've sorted out on a monthly basis, I'm earning X amount, and I'm saving. Okay, now I got a lump sum. What could I do with that lump sum? How can I make that lump sum a larger lump sum? That's the next question. And then once you dealt with that question, then the question of getting a house will be made simple, inshallah, because you've already demonstrated you're generating revenue. But if you're not generating revenue and you're happy to do the job you're doing, money comes in, money goes out, and you're just in that state of money coming in, money goes out, money comes in, money goes out, money comes in, money goes out. If that's your state and you're happy that way, then you can't expect anyone to give you a fatwa to make life any different. It will be as it is. And that's actually interesting, because I met someone, one of my students was talking about mortgage, and I was talking to him about this, like, business, that kind of stuff. And he just basically said, you know what, I've got a little thing going on. I do some hours in my dad's shop, in a chicken chip shop. I do some hours at thing, and I'm happy with that. I spend time with the kids. When I have no intention of earning more.
Okay.
Or working more. I mean, money comes in, money goes out. He's happy. So if that is your state of mind, no fatwa is going to fix that. Gotcha. The first thing is to change that mindset. I can't just be in, out. I need to be in and some out. In more, some out. I need to be able to accrue and grow. And then, I'm repeating myself now after that.
Excellent. Okay. We're going to round that now. So next week, are we still speaking about the crypto? Yes. Hard money.
So next week I want to discuss about basically hard money. What is Bitcoin? Why is important for Muslims to know about? I didn't say buy, by the way. I said to know. To know what it is. Once you know what it is and what it can do for you, then you can maybe include that in your planning. That's the issue. I'm not here to sell you anything. I haven't got Bitcoins here to sell you. It's not me. It's just me saying to you, just advice as the previous 3 sessions, just advice as in, these are options and avenues that you can use to store your wealth and maybe grow your wealth over a long period of time, so that hopefully within 5 years, 6 years, you may be able to buy a house or leave this country, or whatever the case may be, or at the very least, save yourself from a bank bail-in.
A crash.
I haven't discussed that one yet, but a bail-in is when a bank is in financial difficulty and they are now legally allowed to default on their loans to you. Remember I said to you, they owe you money, and a bail-in is basically when they are allowed to default on their loans to you. So just like you have now with companies, when they go bankrupt in this country, that's it. They can file for bankruptcy, and whatever they owe,
I think they only pay out,
assets, whatnot.
They only pay out up to 75,000, I think, or something like that.
No, on banks, no. So that's a fact. That's one of the issues people don't realize. That money that is guaranteed by the government is only if the bank fails. But bail-ins happen before that. Bail-ins happen to stop it from failing.
Got you.
So to keep the banks going, they can bail you in, but the bank hasn't failed yet. That's only if something catastrophic happens and it actually collapses and it can't be saved, then potentially you get some of your money back by that scheme. But that's not to be done beforehand. That's to be done after the bail-in. So just if you want more details, just literally after the lesson, Google or YouTube what happened in Greece. Greece bail-in. That was a template that set the precedents for all across the world. A lot of governments are talking about now and making moves to institutionalize it now. A lot in England, Australia, America, they've actually changed laws. Listen carefully. They've actually changed laws to facilitate and allow bail-ins. Now, many countries, America, UK, Australia, they've actually made laws that before the government even comes to bail out the banks, first the depositors, or you say the lenders, me and you, must first pay the brunt, and then after that, then the government might come in. So that's the future. People don't realize. Anyway, enough depressing news.
I mean,
So next week is more positive.
Yes. But I think the positive from this is that Muslims have to be smarter with their wealth and their money, and they have to
Yeah.
find halal ways in order to increase their wealth.
Yeah.
And I think that work and that knowledge needed to find better ways in itself is beneficial.
Just one last thing.
Rather than being lazy and getting scammed or losing your house or getting sins for dealing with mortgages and interest, we have to find better ways. We have to struggle to find better ways.
One last thing, one last point, and then we close.
Well done.
I get so many people come to me about Bitcoin, about this coin, about that coin, and they literally say without sugarcoating, they're not interested in any of the details. They just want to know, where can I buy?
Just I want to buy something. Oh, you've cut out, your video's cut out.
Basically means about learning. I don't want to understand.
You're back now. Can
you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
They don't want to learn. They don't want to educate. They just want to find a place to throw the money and hopefully it come back in. This mindset. Thinking like this, thinking, okay, I'm going to make money. I'm going to do it. How does it make sense? And, you get the gist. So next week, we'll talk, inshallah.
Yeah. So okay, Jazakallah khair for that informative lecture, Sheikh Muawiyah. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. We'll be discussing the issue of Bitcoin and is Bitcoin hard money. Jazakallah khair everyone for listening. Inshallah, we'll see you next week at 5 o'clock. The flow will be coming out in a few days, inshallah. Okay, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Right.